What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Multiverse Monologues, the podcast show where we like to travel across the multiverses and fandoms that we love to talk about the movies and television shows that accompany those universes. And your eyes do not deceive you. Yes, we are talking about the Marvel movie marathon once again. I know we had the video up. We're doing Star Wars next, but before we do Star Wars, and we've said this in the past, we got to take a look back because we reviewed 57 movies and we got to talk about all those movies. We got to rank them. We got a bunch of categories. So much like our most anticipated movies and the Multiverse Awards from 2023, this is going to kind of be like that, but for the Marvel movie marathon.
Better. That's what he's saying.
Exactly.
More effort put into this, guys. Come on.
Yes. So we're going to be talking about all the movies that me, your co-host, Ben Rayside, have reviewed, but also introducing the gentleman who helped make this podcast possible. First off, Mr. Ethan Wantzloff. Ethan, how are you?
I'm doing great. We've got our temp pads ready to go. You know, our TBA jackets on, ready to travel through this multiverse of movies and discuss the good, the bad, the Howard the Ducks, and the Electras. So let's do this, guys.
Oh yes, sir. We're I don't know if we're gonna touch on everything. I think just about everything, and like everything's gonna be on the table.
Rapid fire a couple of these.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And yeah, we're not going to this isn't going to be, there's structure to this. There's a lot of awards that we got to give out, some best, some worst. It's going to be a lot of fun. One guy who is always a lot of fun whenever you're around him is Mr. Micah Head. Micah, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. I feel like we've been on this podcast for a long, long time. And I think it's about time we wrap up this chapter in the Multiverse Monologues Marvel Movie Marathon. We've got this huge list here. We've been documenting all of our scores, all of our averages. We've taken internet rankings. We've taken internet scores. We've taken everything, averaged it all out, and we're going to compare our list to the internet's. We're going to compare our list to each other's, and we're going to see what comes out on top at the end of the day. Yeah. And what comes out on bottom.
Oh, yes, because there's definitely going to be films that do that. So going forward here, it's just going to be a bunch of categories. But Micah has, as he has kind of alluded to, and as you can see, has compiled this epic list for us, detailing everything that has happened. I mean, more than you could ever even imagine has gone into this list, and I can't wait to see.
Many hours.
Yes, a round of applause for Mr. Head.
I'll raise for Micah.
The Star Wars one is going to be way less work because I already developed the system. There's only 16 projects.
It's like something like
minuscule
11 movies
compared to our Marvel one.
Right. Oh man. I mean, this is 57, and we're not even done because, like we said, this isn't the end of the Marvel movie marathon. This is only a break. 57 movies, and now we're taking a break. But how do we want to start this off, gentlemen?
Do you want me to just rapid fire all of the whole list?
Let's start with the bottom, number 57, and then go up from there if possible.
Now, keep in mind, this is from Howard the Duck to Dark Phoenix, everything theatrically released. So we're not doing Man-Thing. We're not doing anything before that. There are a couple animated movies in there that we're not doing that were TV, but we are doing Into the Spider-Verse, Big Hero 6, things like that. So
the way we did it was any Marvel theatrically released movie
in America.
Yeah.
Yes, because there were a couple TV movies that made it into the screens in Europe. That's a whole thing. All right. So we're going to start off with number 57. I'm not going to do scores with this until like the top 10 or so. So just rapid fire. 57th place, all the way at the bottom. Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance. We all gave it a 1. 56th place, Fan Four Stick. That's the 2015 one. 55th place, Elektra. 54th, Dark Phoenix. 53rd, Howard the Duck. 52nd, Daredevil, 2003. 51st, Hulk, 2003. Interesting how that came out. 50th place, 2007's Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. 49th place, Punisher Warzone from 2008. 48th place, 2004's Blade Trinity. 47th place, 2019's Captain Marvel. This is the lowest MCU project.
Wow. What place is that?
47th place.
Whoa. Holy catfish.
It's in the top 50, guys. Come on.
Yes.
That's 10 movies from the bottom of our list.
Come on.
I credit.
46th place, 2011's X-Men First Class. This is the lowest one with X-Men in the title.
We got to talk about that one. Yeah.
Yes. 45th place, Venom. 44th place, 2004's The Punisher. 43rd place, 2008's The Incredible Hulk. This is our second lowest for MCU.
What place was that?
43rd.
Okay.
And now we get into the fresh scores, not the certified fresh, Rotten Tomatoes, whatever, 75% and up. This is the 60% on up. All right. So this is 42nd place, Ghost Rider, 2007. 41st place is 2012's The Amazing Spider-Man. 40th place is 2005's Fantastic Four.
Let me pause just as we've hit the top
We've hit
40.
the 40.
We've hit the top 40.
The top
and
40.
I don't know. Did we say this up top for people that might be joining us for the first time, that us three collectively at the end of each podcast gave a score, and then those scores were averaged, and then that is where this ranking comes
This is
from.
our ranking. This is not the internet score. This is our score independently. So 40th place, 2005's Fantastic Four. 39th place, Thor: The Dark World. 38th place, X-Men: The Last Stand. 37th place, Ant-Man. 36th place, X-Men Origins Wolverine. 35th place, Iron Man 2. 34th place, The Wolverine. That's 2013's. 33rd place, 1998's Blade. This is the highest before 2000s. So there's only a couple movies, but Blade made it up pretty high. So that's cool.
That is cool.
32nd place, 2018's Ant-Man and the Wasp. 31st place, X-Men 2000. 30th place, 2014's Big Hero 6. 29th place, 2016's Deadpool. 28th place, 2002's Blade 2. 27th place, 2016's X-Men Apocalypse.
Oh, that made it high.
That sorry, that was my fault.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
We'll touch on that later. Now we are hitting if this were all Rotten Tomatoes, it would be the certified fresh. So this is anything 75% or
and
above.
just for reference, how many MCU films have we hit before this threshold?
I don't know, like
There are
4.
too many.
There's Dark World, Ant-Man, Iron Man 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Incredible Hulk, Captain Marvel. I think that's it.
Okay.
So
So a handful.
For the reference, what are we in now? We're in our
We're
top.
in the 26th.
So top 26 out of
So-
all of Marvel.
Yes.
And we've only really passed like about 6 MCU films. So
Yes.
MCU films,
They're still like
they get a lot of
Yeah.
hate for being formulaic, but a lot of them do make the top half of our list
Yes.
very easily.
All right. 26th place, Sam Raimi's 2007 Spider-Man 3.
Mhm.
25th place, 2003 X-Men 2. To the 24th place is 2014's The Amazing Spider-Man 2. That's thanks to Ben's score there.
Which one?
The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Which place was that?
24th place. 23rd place is 2017's Thor Ragnarok.
Oh,
22nd place is 2017's same year
true.
Spider-Man Homecoming. 21st place is 2018's Deadpool 2. 20th place is 2002 Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
Top 20. It
Top
made the
20.
top 20.
It made the top 20, guys. 19th place is 2019 Spider-Man Far From Home. 18th place is 2011's Thor. 17th place,
Nice.
2011's Captain America, the First Avenger.
Nice.
16th place, 2015 Age of Ultron. 15th place, 2013's Iron Man 3. 14th place, 2016's Doctor Strange. 13th place, 2018's Black Panther. 12th place is 2008's Iron Man. 11th place, 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy. And now we have hit our top 10. I will list all the scores for these.
okay,
Yes.
baby.
So everything from here on out is an 8.9 or above. Our 10th place is an 8.9 out of 10, which is 2004's Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2.
I love that
Number
that made the
10,
top
right?
10.
Yes. I think this is a movie that we'll talk about it more, but it's definitely a diamond in a rough patch of Marvel movies.
Yes.
The start of the beginning of greatness. 9th place, 2014's X-Men Days of Future Past. This will definitely come up later in the podcast. Stay tuned. That's a 9.1 out of 10. 8th place, 2017's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 at a 9.3.
The 2 Guardian movies
I
made
love
in the
that.
top 10.
Yes. Did it?
Guardians
was 11th
right?
place.
Oh,
Yeah, just
so
barely
Guardians 2
snubbed.
edged it out.
It did, yes.
Okay.
7th place is 2012's The Avengers with a 9.43 out of 10. 6th place is 2016's Captain America Civil War with a 9.46 out of 10. Just a 0.03
if
difference.
you dispute the high ranking for Civil War, 1, go rewatch it. And 2, watch it from a character writing standpoint when you look at Steve's arc and Tony's arc.
Oh,
Yes,
for sure.
And then
there
argue
is a lot
it's not
more, in our opinions, a lot more emotion drawn out from this Civil War movie. 5th place is 2018's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse with a 9.7 flat
Wow.
out of 10. This was, came out of nowhere. What a great top 5 movie, right?
Which one?
Into the Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse. Yeah, right. Okay.
5th place.
Yep.
That's great. 4th place, 2017's Logan.
Yeah.
At a
Deserved.
9.73, another 0.03 difference. That's just because we're 3 dudes. So there's going to be 0.3 differences.
That's right.
3rd place, 2014's Captain America, The Winter Soldier. Lots of great
Love it.
action in this film. Lots of great emotion in there too. 9.8 flat out of 10. You know what? Actually, it's kind of crazy. These next 3 are all, the top 3 is all 0.03 away from each other. So Winter Soldier was 9.80. 2nd place, 2018's Avengers Infinity War at a 9.83. And coming in 1st place, if you're keeping track at home, no surprise,
Yeah.
Avengers Endgame,
Yeah.
9.86 out of 10.
I know.
And I was looking for any reason to give the classic movies anywhere else but the top 3, but I just couldn't.
Right. You hate to look at our list and go, man, look at these generic 3 boys having Endgame, Infinity War, and Winter Soldier as their top 3. But you know what? They genuinely are that good.
I think what's the most interesting about this is everything that isn't normally talked about, anything beyond the top 10. I mean, everyone's got their top 10, right? Everyone's got their top 5 even, but anything beyond that, you can't really put a number on it. And what we've done here on the cast is we've watched everything in theatrically released order, keeping in mind what came out before it, what was just about to come out, and what it was doing new for
long hours put into this. This is 57
movies.
So that's at least an hour if we're being generous, at least an hour per podcast, not factoring probably an average of 2 hours per movie.
Yeah.
So whatever, do that math. An
3
hour
hours
plus,
times 57.
yeah, 3 hours
It's
times
a lot.
57 times whatever else additional research went into it. All the editing, posting, shorts making.
Podcasting.
Yeah, come on, like a lot of hours went into making this list.
So the question we sought out to answer was, if you are new to the Marvel movies, period, is it worth going back and watching everything? So now what we have here is we have our average scores. So we took all of our scores individually and then we averaged those out. So my scores for all the movies averaged out to a 7.18 out of 10, Ben's to a 7.0 out of 10, and Ethan's to a 6.7 out of 10. And I can happily say we can rejoice that our average is a 6.9 out of 10.
That is beautiful.
I'm
so
happy
so
for you.
more positive than
I need a
was
drink.
negative.
That was
Yeah, no, nice job, Micah, giving us the whole rundown of our list. And I agree. There's a lot of people who would come at you for having the Russo Bros and the top 3. I mean, all 3 of their movies, especially Endgame at the top.
Yeah.
Hollywood Reporter, all those 3 being one of them. They
if you
put
want
it
a
at
hot
36.
takes list, go look at the Hollywood Reporter article, famously referenced during
go listen to each of our individual podcasts. We touch on all of them.
100%. And I'm not saying that you can't have a different opinion, but we went, sunk all those hours. We watched every single film in order, and that's what we came
And
out
it's not
with.
like-
Man. I mean, there's some credit due
Talking about
there
them
is.
definitely influences your opinion
For
too.
sure.
Where there have been some movies that came in super hot on, and talking about it for an hour, I'm like, you know what? That's not as good. When it came down to giving a score, it's not as good as I initially wanted it to be.
Mm.
And that's what was so beneficial about sitting here and talking with it. I would say we're generally pretty big fans of film, especially now.
Yes.
I wouldn't say because of this.
We have become film bros.
100 like through the last few 3-4 years, whatever it might have been, our filmography has grown so much, and yet each week there was one Marvel film in our docket each week that we logged. So there is some credit that's due there as well.
This is like a perfect list if you need to just educate yourself on film, because you got some good directors doing some great things in here. You also got a lot of bad movies in here. Like we just read it. There's a really wide range of what we like in this. So it boils down to it. I think it's a really good like way of just watching movies and watching a lot of different kinds of movies. I mean, they're all superhero movies. So
Right. Yeah. Well, in this list, we have literally everything from the lowest of lows to some of the greatest movies ever made. Even though they're comic book movies, there is a credit to be had for great film writing and great character development and just action, practical effects, and the effort that you put into a movie shows.
And Micah, I think you've had something you've alluded to the past few podcasts.
Yes.
A certain quote from a certain someone.
Yes.
That
Martin Scorsese famously, actually just after our final movie in the podcast that we listened to, Dark Phoenix, later that October 2019, Martin Scorsese famously had his interview saying that comic book movies are nothing but a roller coaster. You get on, you get off, and you can't wait to get back on the ride. And what do we have to say about that, guys? We have gone back and we've watched every single one, and our average scores show that generally we found it worth it.
Mm-hmm.
We found it entertaining at least, but does that make it any more than a roller coaster?
So I think for the broad, like, I don't hate that statement. I don't. I know it initially made a lot of people mad when he first said it, but there is like an ups and down and like a enjoyment that you have on the surface level of a ton of these films. Now, when we get into our top 20, I'd say is when I'd start to fight back on that quote from him. But I don't know. I think there is some validity to what that quote says.
People don't like change. They like the familiarity of going back and getting largely, okay, it's a superhero movie. I know what I'm getting into regardless of what's going to happen there. And for the large part of the 2010s, you got to also see superhero movies that were pretty good. Most of them that came out were pretty good. You look at our scores, there are pretty few duds from the areas of 2010 to 2019. And so going back to the theaters was not only something familiar that they loved doing with their families, whatever it might be, but also they got really good films. So for that amount of time, I would say, yeah, you left the theater, you go back wanting the same thing, you want more. You can't wait to get back on the train that is the superhero zeitgeist of the 2010s specifically.
But I think what Marvel is kind of now is really different from it was kind of when he said this quote, because now at best, I think what you get with a Marvel movie is that was fun. And you find a lot of people saying that, like we were talking about the other day, like, oh yeah, that Marvel movie wasn't complete garbage. That's not really a good defense of a film. If you say it
I
wasn't
used the
complete.
same critiques on a roller coaster. It wasn't complete garbage, but at least it was over. It was a 45-second roller coaster. You know, zipped you around for
45. How long are you waiting in that line for?
Yeah,
a
you're
45
waiting
second?
2 hours in the
There's no
line,
way.
3 hours for this brand new roller coaster. I remember at Six Flags, I waited 3 hours for this brand new roller coaster. It
Which
was the
one?
fastest one. The one that goes in a shotguns you off. It's one of the newer ones. I don't
Oh,
remember what it's
V2.
No, not V2.
Not V2?
It shoots you up into a loop and then spins.
Superman?
It's like 15
It
seconds long.
shoots you up into a loop and spins.
And spins you
Are
around,
you talking
yeah,
about the
and then you're
Joker?
back.
X-Men?
No, it's a new one. It's not like
How
branded
new?
or anything.
Oh.
It's not branded. It's where the movie theater thingy was, actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where the
It's been a while
virtual
since I've
reality
been.
one was?
Yeah, whatever that. No. Whatever.
All
Anyway,
right, bye. You wasted your time
you're
on that
distracting
ride.
me. Yeah. So you waited 3 hours for this line, and it's a 15-second roller coaster, literally, and that's it. And all you can say is, "Oh yeah, it went fast. It was cool."
That's how it's feeling with the
And
post-credit scenes.
that's how it's
You know,
feeling.
you just spent 2 hours in the movie. You're like, oh man, finally, post-credit scene. Is it going to be any good? Sometimes it is. Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes you get like a Batman ride at Six Flags and you just get jostled around. But yeah, man.
But I don't know. You think there's validity to this quote?
Oh,
Ben?
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you hate to like say that. Yeah. Okay. Some are very amusement park ride-esque. You know, they're fun. You get on and then you get off. You don't really think about it much. But some roller coasters you do think about a ton. And some of these movies I think about daily. And some of these movies are like my favorite movies of all time. So I think you also have to give credit where credit is due. Where if you're going to bash the movies that deserve to be bashed, you also got to give credit to the movies that deserve credit.
His statement is by definition, like it just is, has a negative connotation, you know? So, and then you see that and you think, oh man, well, my Endgame, you know, my Infinity War, my Winter Soldier. I mean, this isn't a theme park, right? This means more to me than that. And so for a lot of nerds, you know, that was like
just mad
an
that
attack.
More people have seen those movies than will ever watch some of his movies.
But that's what it comes off as, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, no one went to see The Irishman. Okay, well,
it was a Netflix movie, so
and it was 3 freaking hours long, man.
like Killers of the Flower Moon. That's a more recent example. It didn't make much in the box office, but the people who watched it loved it. It was a huge budget movie, and it didn't make that much money. But Scorsese can foot the bill on that because he loves film that much.
It's also Scorsese. I mean,
it's Scorsese. I mean, he's got a bank. He's got a bag.
Right. But I think he has too much of a voice when it comes to stuff like this. Like he doesn't need, I mean, he can have it, but like I don't even care.
When he starts to putting out Marvel reviews on Letterboxd, then we'll talk.
But I'm like, these aren't the movies that are, it's completely different, you know?
Right.
It's completely different than the films that he's trying to make.
The beautiful thing about rewatching films and talking about them together and ranking them together is sometimes people just enjoy movies more than certain people enjoy movies, you know. We're
about to find out
those movies for sure. That's actually a great segue because we just listed our whole that's all of our average scores. But I know my list is different than this, you know. I mean, my number 1 is Endgame and my number 57 is Ghost Rider, as I think it is for you guys. But I mean, statistically, maybe
Spirit of Vengeance.
Spirit of Vengeance. Yep. I
got
to clarify that. 100% here. Come on. But we have a ton of categories here that solidify certain points of this ranking. And we've all compiled a list together. This is the part where it's going to kind of be like the Multiverse Awards. But starting off with, we've got a bunch of categories, but let's just do... Let's start off with most surprising film that we saw. Now, this is the film that you saw on this marathon. Maybe it was the first time you saw it. Maybe it was you saw this film in a new light, but you were like, holy cow, this was a really, really good film. I really had a great time with this movie. And some of these categories are going to be drafts. This one is going to be a draft. So
no repeats.
That's right. And we're going to start with Mr. Wentzloff.
Okay.
I have a feeling.
Just take it.
Just do it.
I'm not going to take the one you want me to take because I do feel a pull with a different movie.
Is no one going to take it, actually?
There is a movie that I think about a ton that I had not seen before this marathon. And I think about it so much because I thought the world building was fantastic. I thought the lore that surrounds this movie and this character was super cool. I'm taking Blade. I'm taking the first Blade movie. This one surprised me. I had heard about it. I knew it existed, but I was really blown away by how fun Wesley Snipes' Blade was. So I'm taking that.
I didn't even think about it, but it's a great pick. Micah?
All right. Well,
are you going to take it?
I can take it.
We're all thinking about it.
We're all thinking about it.
I'm looking for another option, and the only other one that comes to mind is
don't name it. Maybe Ben
I had a really good time with Ghost Rider.
No,
I'll say it.
You are.
I had a very fun time with Ghost Rider.
You're kidding.
But the one I'll really pick is Howard the Duck.
You're kidding.
Right off the bat, we're taking
I mean,
our first two for the
Doesn't have to be
podcast.
good. It's just most surprising.
They were the ones that surprised me the most because I didn't expect Howard the Duck to go places where no duck had gone before.
That is true. Where no
And
duck had gone
we had
before.
never seen Quack Fu, and we never saw anything like that since. Howard the Duck,
That's
I think,
true.
is the most unique movie on the list.
I mean,
And-
we could firmly say that no other movie on the marathon made a prosthetic duck boob,
Hey.
much like this movie
True.
did.
That's true.
So,
I think that Howard the Duck, for being the first theatrically released Marvel movie ever,
True.
not including the Captain America serials from 1946, not
Know
including
about those,
all
yep.
that other crap from Europe. We don't care about Europe unless you're watching this podcast. Thank you for
we
watching.
do care about you.
Yeah, we do.
Then- Howard the Duck was a masterpiece. No, it was great.
masterpiece.
I think it was a lot of fun. It knew what it was doing and it leaned into it. There are a lot of movies after it. We meme on it all the time. My line from the podcast where I said it knew what it was trying to do and it did it. But
No, it knew what it was trying to do, and if that's what it
if
was,
that's what it was going for, then it executed
they
it perfectly.
executed it perfectly.
And there are a lot of movies
awesome.
that we see after this that don't commit to the bit. They do it half-heartedly, and there's producers and stuff that are all tearing it in different ways. And you got the company breathing down the neck. You can't do this. You got Edgar Wright leaving Ant-Man. You got Elektra not having its actual lead that was supposed to be Daredevil 2. You got all this stuff that's going on. And Howard the Duck feels like the most independent,
I can't believe you're still
less
talking about
studio
Howard the Duck.
interfere. I haven't talked about it in length since we did the podcast.
57 movies ago. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's a long time.
But there's a lot of heart to Howard the Duck. A lot of people spent a lot of time on there. ILM did a great job on that movie. We would have not have gotten the funding for a lot of Lucasfilm projects if not for Howard the Duck,
Why is that?
because it made some
wasn't
money.
it in reverse?
I don't know about
Because
that.
it
Wasn't
made
it-
some money.
They needed to
Did it
get
make
money,
money?
so they used the stuff from Indiana Jones to make this one, and it didn't make any money. I think.
My headcanon is that Howard the Duck made enough money to fund episode 5.
That of Star Wars?
Yeah.
No, this was 86.
Oh,
This
this
is way
was
after the OG
to fund
Last
trilogy.
Crusade.
Last Crusade.
Yep.
That's what it was.
Yep.
Last
Your whole
Crusade is
argument just
only
fell
here because
apart.
of Howard the Duck.
You're
The
laughing.
timeline's misconstrued. Anyway,
You know,
Ben,
I will say this. I was very surprised at Micah's score for this movie. What did you give Howard the Duck?
6.5 right out of the gate.
That 6.5.
6.5 all day, chef.
That
And that
quack
was-
foo and duck wow, how do I want to phrase this? Sex? Duck sex?
They,
Yeah, I guess you can
yeah.
They
frame it
did.
that way.
They almost got it on in Howard the Duck. That's for sure.
And that's
Beverly.
why it's a 6. It's a
From
6.5, guys.
The mom from Back to the Future.
Yes, Lorraine.
Lorraine, come on.
6.5 out of 10. Is
All
it a
right.
great movie? No. But did it surprise me a
executed
ton?
perfectly.
It had
did.
a lot of good memes. I'll tell you that much.
It was one of the only persistent memes we had in the podcast.
I think if you go back, what was it? This was February of 2022, I think,
Yes.
when we started this up. So almost 2 years.
Crazy.
And I think I raised my score 1 point because of how optimistic and happy you were with this movie. I was like, you know what? Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm being too critical.
I am still
of this
happy with
movie.
my 6.5.
Howard the Duck. What a pick. Okay, so I guess I'll take it then.
If you want. If
So-
it's not yours, then
No,
don't take it.
We're going to talk about a movie that would be mine later on. So I'm going to go with X-Men
Days of Future
Days of
Past.
Future Past. Thank you. I was brain
Yeah.
farting there for a second. That was, I think, by far the best surprise, I
Blew
would
us
say,
away.
on this list. I mean, in the previous times, I watched the X-Men movies before. That movie was probably like a 7 or an 8. I
Yeah.
didn't think of it very much. But this time, watching all the, like, I've never watched all the X-Men movies in chronological like we did this time. And I don't know, there was something of the world building, the beginning scene, and then Logan's character arc as he goes from old X-Men to young X-Men, back to that beautiful ending sequence of him and Charles standing in there, and he goes back, and it's the X-Men we've all watched, if you watched it in 2014, you watched them all the way up since 2000, but we watched all of them, and it was a really nice bow on that X-Men universe for sure. I mean, Logan kind of is past that, but I don't know, I really like Days of Future Past, guys. That was a good one.
The character work was really, really well done.
Yes.
Specifically with that scene with old Charles and young Charles, I think about all the time.
Yeah, the plane, when Charles and Magneto are arguing on the plane. Where were you, Charles? They're really good acting. So yes, X-Men Days of Future Past is for me. Next category, Best Director. Ooh, Best Director. This will also be a draft since it is opinionated and not numbers based. But Best Director in this, so we can't all pick the Russo bros, even though they were top 3 for us. And we're going to start with Micah.
I got to go with the man who really just always pours his heart and soul out into the style, just the pure style into his filmmaking. And that goes to
It's not Ang-Lee,
Mr. Samuel Raimi.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought you were going to say
Ang Lee.
The same thing.
I do like a lot of creativity that Ang Lee pours into his Hulk movie, but he didn't put out 3 movies like Sam Raimi did.
Yeah, we did not.
And
good pick.
I just recently found the open mats of each of the Spider-Man movies.
Ooh.
Where it's like the original film of the Spider-Man trilogy. It's very cool. You get to see a little bit more of the top, a little bit more of the bottom. It's a square picture, but it's straight from the Kodak camera. Very cool how the colors look. The framing is amazing. Just the way everything is lined up in the Raimi movies. He had a vision going into it. Like I said, to give Howard the Duck as many props as I could. I had a vision going in, sure. But like Spider-Man, Sam Raimi, he really had a vision, but that's to be expected, right? Each of the Spider-Man movies have so much character, so much. Danny Elfman with the score, it's amazing. And the screenplay, it feels like a comic book. Every single element of this movie is ripped straight out of the comics, even more than Ang Lee's Hulk, where they literally use comic frames in the shots. There's just something about that early. It captures the cheese. It captures the beauty of what comic book movies should be. And I feel like we've strayed too far from what Sam Raimi perfected.
He's
in
that
the early
perfect
2000s.
mix of serious but also really campy. Like I love
it takes
that.
itself seriously when it needs to, like the comics. And that's great. Not that I'm, super huge into the comics, but I know the feeling of what they are, I think. I don't know.
Indeed.
What they are,
What they are in my brain. And this is what they should be in my house.
Let me ask you this, Micah. How many Spider-Man comics have you read?
I grew up reading Spider-Man comics.
You did?
Yes.
Okay.
My Nana would buy them for me from the newspaper.
All right. That's all I needed to know.
I would read the Spider-Man and Fantastic Four ones. Like there would be the collab comics. It was cool. But Sam Raimi for each of the Spider-Man movies, specifically
really good pick.
Spider-Man 2.
Specifically for Spider-Man.
Spider-Man
Highlight
2.
a film.
Yes.
I like it.
Yes.
I'm going to go with Mark Webb in The Amazing I'm just kidding. No, it's going to be a duo of directors. I'm going to take them, Joe and Anthony Russo.
Yeah, pick one. Pick one director.
I'll pick a film. And it's not going to be those big Avengers movies they did. It's going to be The Winter Soldier. I think their style just right off the gate. I mean, they're hired off of a Community set of episodes, and they get this huge Captain America movie, and they just knock it out of the park. A lot of credit has to go with the writing team of Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely for sure, but they can execute action sequences like no other. Proven by all, there's a reason they were given Infinity War and Endgame to direct, because they proved in Winter Soldier and Civil War that they know what the heck they're doing. And I don't think the MCU would be what it is without him, without a doubt.
No way.
Those are my two.
All right.
My pick would have to be Rob Bowman, who directed Electron.
Electron.
Oh my goodness.
I was sure you were going to say Mark Steven Johnson, who did our two favorites.
Oh, from Daredevil
and Ghost Rider.
Oh.
Ooh, that is a good filmography.
That's a redemption
right
arc.
there. All right. It's generic. I hate to do it. I hate to say it, but I'll do James Gunn. I'll do James Gunn.
Right.
Just
You can't.
Get off the stage.
just because he does something that that most of these other directors don't really get to do. He writes and he directs, which I think really translates into the final product of the film. And James Gunn just expertly crafted three. The only two that are represented on this marathon, though, Guardians 1 and Guardians 2. I think his character work is just done so well. The emotion he's able to pull from scenes, his needle drops are really fantastic. I think the way he does action is really fun, and I think his cosmic vision of his kind of Star Warsification of the MCU, what he kind of the sci-fi elements he brought into the world, I thought were done really well. So James Gunn, I'm going to give you this.
And shout out Guillermo del Toro for being just a surprise director that made a better sequel than the original, in my opinion.
Yeah. Blade 2 was better, I think.
That was a surprise director.
Where did Blade 2 end up on our list?
Blade 2 was...
Real quick.
Uh-oh.
Because I think Blade 2 was our best Blade movie.
I liked Blade 1 more, but
Blade
I think
2
consensus was you two liked Blade 2 better.
Landed in 28th place.
28. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Top 30? Top 30, I guess.
Top 30. Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, Ethan, you mentioned needle drops and how James Gunn is so good at that. And needle drops is our next category because in the Marvel movie marathon, in 57 movies, there's a lot of good needle drops throughout the MCU, throughout the Marvel movies. There's also a lot of strange ones.
The duck.
Ooh. Take your mic and do it.
Did I tell you guys this might be a dementia? Yep.
Yeah.
All right, dementia moment.
Let's share the story. You started it.
No, I was at work one day and we were playing Guess the Tune from movies, and this tune starts playing, a familiar tune, and it was Howard. I couldn't place it until the music started playing. I was like, no way, I've heard this, but from where? Howard the Duck was playing, and I almost took a video for you guys, but I mean that's definitely on the list for needle drops. But I'm gonna go with Thor Ragnarok, the immigrant song. The last time it's played, because they play it multiple times, but it's when he gets the lightning and he fires down on the bridge, takes out all those guys, and they play that needle drop of the immigrant song. Immigrant song already fantastic, but in that moment, probably one of the coolest moments in the MCU because of how good that needle drop is.
I only didn't like it because the trailer was played too much before the movie.
Because you saw it too many times?
Because I saw the trailer too many times. Immigrant song was in it. The bridge scene was in it. And I was just burnt out by the time it actually got to there in the movie.
Were you burnt out this time, though?
Yeah.
Just in memory?
Because it's been played. Didn't they even play it in Love and Thunder?
No, that was all AC/DC.
Yeah, there's
in Love and Thunder.
I love AC/DC.
Oh, I love Led Zeppelin.
Oh, yeah.
I think it is Led Zeppelin. Right?
Yeah.
His actual song is
So that's a needle drop?
Yeah.
Ethan, you got one?
I hate that you just mentioned that one because that one is a good one to start off the MCU. Back in Black. Fantastic.
Oh,
but
come on.
Am I going to take that? I'm going to take one that gets me joyous every time I hear it. The memes go crazy. I'm going to steal it from Mike. I think he might be eye dropping this.
Ooh.
As Tobey Maguire happily walks and munches on a hot dog. I don't. Is The Rain Keeps Falling on My Head? Is that the name of the song?
Raindrops are falling on my head.
Raindrops keep falling on my head.
Who's the artist of that?
That is Barry Manilow.
I'm taking that one. Okay.
Okay.
I love that.
Dude,
that needle drop.
yes.
I think about all the time, and it's
Parker eats a hot dog.
Yeah.
That scene.
It's such a pivotal point in the movie where Peter has rejected his powers, and he's decided to not accept that responsibility that comes with his power. He's decided to be selfish, and you see this work out for him in all the way. He has the life he wants, but ultimately it's not the life he wants. I think it's a pivotal moment in that movie, and I love the needle drop.
It's also just hilarious.
Yes.
Like it's so good.
The way
man.
it ends, it's just a freeze frame on Toby. Nothing's worrying me.
That's the kind of that's the kind of comic book camp that I needed to see.
Yep.
I'm gonna pick one that's way different than your guys's. So I was thinking, what is a needle drop that really stuck with me? One that really impacted me, and one that came to mind was the credits of Across the Spider-Verse. And I was like, okay, was there one like that impacted me? And I was thinking, When the Man Comes Around from Logan.
Oh my gosh, that's a great pick.
That is the only song in this where or one of few. I mean, there's Porch that leaves you just speechless while you're listening to the music.
Father and Son by Yusef and Guardians 2.
Yes, there are very few moments in this podcast in our watch through where we had a song that played and you're just like completely like, is this real? Am I here right now? Did Logan just die? And like, that's it?
And then they hit you with that song?
And then he with When the Man Comes Around?
Dude, what? Yeah.
And that, I love it. I love it. Yeah. I mean, what else to say?
Not many movies will I watch the credits, but I let it play
Yes.
because it's Johnny Cash. It's so good. That's a great pick,
Another
man.
movie that comes to mind like that is at the end of the second Hobbit movie when that Ed Sheeran song, I See Fire.
Oh,
that's another
that goes so hard.
Yeah, if you're looking for that feeling.
Yep.
Yeah.
That just makes you want to sit there and just process what happened. Right. Well, gentlemen, we've been a little positive on these first three categories. Let's go negative. Worst performance in the Marvel, the 57
I'm really
movies
interested
that
to
we
hear what you
watched.
guys say.
Worst performance. I know. I definitely have one, but Ethan's going to start us off.
Oh man, this is a tough one to
Kick
start
us off. Come on, man.
because we've had some bad performances and some stick to mind. One that I think edges out the badness just because of how campy he is Colin Farrell as Bullseye.
Yeah.
I think he would contend for this, but he's just a little too fun to watch. Whether that being good or bad.
He was too into his role.
He loved it too
He was
much.
having too much fun.
But I think that Ben Affleck plays an absolutely awful Matt Murdock.
Come on, we just saw the clip.
An absolutely awful Matt Murdock. And that's not because he's a bad actor, because he's not. We've seen him do great performances before, but the script combined with what the tight suit they put him in, and he hated his time as Daredevil, and I hated watching him as Daredevil. And I like a lot of the swings that movie does, but I think it's such a swing and a miss from his performance standpoint. We talked for a good amount of that podcast on, he's supposed to be blind. And we have Charlie Cox, who plays blind to perfection. He's won awards for how well he's able to portray a blind character. And Ben Affleck just does it horribly. And I just hate everything that he does. And no bashing the guy, but bashing that movie fully.
Ben Affleck's great, but holy cow, was Daredevil 2003 a mess? Micah?
Well, I've got one in a similar vein to Ethan's here, and it's a portrayal so bad that so I started watching this movie with Rebecca, my fiance, and by the time she watched this movie exclusively for this actress,
it's the same movie.
She saw her on the cover, and was like, "Wow, Jennifer Garner's in this."
Jennifer Garner.
She's pretty. I've seen movies with her before.
I almost picked her, Micah.
I should watch this Daredevil movie. We got 15 minutes in. Ooh, she shows up, mustard in the drink, all that, whatever. And then they get to the fight scene on the seesaws.
Fight scene.
And she's like, "This is awful." turn it off. This was one of the first times where I had to turn off a movie because Rebecca had me turn it off.
Oh,
That's a sign of true love, though, where if you are willing, because you were fully there, Micah.
I was ready to watch it again.
To rewatch Daredevil.
With the mindset of this movie's
2003,
trash,
Micah.
I can dog on it the whole
Props to
time.
you.
and it just broke you again.
It broke her, so it broke me.
Oh,
Yes.
man.
Unfortunately.
Man, that movie,
One, man. Oh.
man, a clean sweep with Daredevil,
Daredevil,
2003.
holy cow.
Ben?
Dude, I don't know. I had Elektra as mine, so I got to pick someone else.
Oh,
But
the first steal,
let
actually.
me tell you something right now, though. I have another one.
Oh, yeah.
I love that
Electra, what's her last name? Nachismos?
Nachos.
Nachos.
So it was a game
Nacho
time
cheese.
decision. I almost took Electra too, but
She
I
is
was-
bottom of the
I
barrel.
was
She got
thinking
her
about-
own movie.
I was
Yeah,
thinking
dude.
about Daredevil, and I hated Daredevil a little more just because
Yeah.
the character is more interesting than Electra, and he just whiffed it. But
But we will say at the time that Daredevil was the only live action Daredevil we'd ever had.
right,
So, I mean,
Doesn't make it good. Oh,
they were
man,
trying to
that's
do their own thing and it didn't work because they didn't
Nope.
commit to the bit.
Nope. Didn't. I'll go with a performance that as if you're portraying a comic book character, you have missed the mark terribly. And I know that he has a lot of charm. There's a lot of, I enjoy watching him because it's insane. But Nicolas Cage as Ghost Rider is absolutely
Ooh.
atrocious.
Micah's gonna
playing Ghost Rider.
Both movies or just one?
Both movies, dude.
okay.
He is not. Ghost Rider is supposed to be this very cool guy on a motorcycle.
Okay.
You just
Nicolas
defined Nick Cage.
is not, dude. He is ultimate cap, and yeah, there's a point where you can enjoy that, and to an extent, I kind of do. I give the first Ghost Rider a 6.
Yeah.
But he is atrocious as the character of Ghost Rider. It's terrible. It's laughably bad. That's where I enjoy it from.
Laughably, yeah.
But like there is no part of me that thinks that's the definitive
That's
Ghost
kind
Rider
of what
right
he
there.
does.
But he's just so miscast. It just is. It's Ghost Rider. Why would you cast Nicolas Cage? You
Because
know?
he loves Ghost Rider. He's got Ghost Rider tattoo. That's probably the only reason why they casted him. I'm not defending him.
went
I'm
to the
just
interview.
saying the reasons.
And
He
he
has
has a
hold on.
Ghost Rider
Guys-
tattoo.
Wait a minute. I know what you just saw was terrible.
Y'all
but-
remember that scene where he's sitting there watching TV with a champagne glass full of jelly beans?
And the one where he's like, he has that guy up on the wall. He's screeching at the door. Screeching at the door. Dude,
How about when he shoves the cell phone down the dude's throat? Y'all remember that?
Dude, it's laughably
I
bad.
think a contender, though, for bad performances, Idris Elba in Spirit of Vengeance. He, like,
That's
A-tier
another bad
actor,
one.
and he shows up
Disrespect.
and just, like, what a dump of a film, that one.
Another one who's not that, like, is Storm, the actress who plays Storm. I'm forgetting her name.
Which one?
Halle Berry.
Older-
Halle Berry.
Oh, yeah. She's the same.
She's
actress.
not. I mean, I don't really. Most of the newer X-Men cast, I don't even like think about. To be honest with
I
you,
would say young Jean Grey is way
From
worse
Dark
than
Phoenix?
Storm.
No, that's
Dark Phoenix and Apocalypse.
That's another bad one.
I think she, just
Agreed.
because she is like a lead character in both
She's
movies,
so flat.
Yeah.
she's
Yep.
so flat. She tries for an accent for like half of
Yeah.
Apocalypse and it doesn't work. Oh no, I'm thinking of what's her name from the first trilogy, who can't be touched. That lady,
Famke Jensen
Famke.
Oh yeah,
No,
Famke
no,
Jensen
plays
she's
Jean
great.
Grey.
No, who can't be touched.
Oh, Rogue.
Rogue had the bad accent in the first.
Oh yeah.
She
But
is, yeah.
Jean
Forgetting
Grey,
her name.
what's her name? Sophie Turner or something.
Yes.
Yeah, Sophie
Yeah.
Turner.
She did a just awful throwaway job, and it sucks
Terrible.
because there was so much opportunity with it.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
bad.
I think anything from Fant Four Stick you could throw in bad performance.
Now Miles
The
Turner
problem
was,
is, it's like it's not None of their performances are offensively
again?
bad.
I'll say, I'll say the most wild one, especially after seeing one of the best movies from last year. Paul Giamatti's Rhino. Absurd.
Yeah, holy
Absurd. It
I
makes
gotta
no
rewatch
sense
it.
what
Cow.
he's
It's the
doing.
same thing with Dane DeHaan's Green Goblin. That's another terrible one. Holy catfish. Both of those two. Oh, you know
Yeah,
what?
I
I
don't know
might
why-
actually go with Dane DeHaan.
I don't know why anyone would like that
You
movie.
already locked in, Ben. It's too late.
That's true.
The
Yeah,
category
all right.
we moved on.
Which movie
You're
were
right.
those guys in?
You gave Amazing Spider-Man 2 like a 7.8, all right? I don't want to hear it.
No,
I don't want to hear
Were
you.
you just confused?
Only Ethan can dog on me for that, all right?
Which movie
You
is
gave
that?
Amazing Spider-Man 2 a good score.
7.9.
You
You
did?
can't dog on me for
Bro.
that, all right? I gave it an 8.5.
Oh.
0.6 higher than you, all right?
What did I give it?
Only Ethan can dog on me for that.
What did I give?
You gave it
I mean-
a 6.2.
See, like I hated on the movie the whole time, and I felt like very like mad about it. But I gave it a 6.2. I think that's really reasonable. And you guys don't, but that's probably a little higher than it should be.
Ethan just has the lowest average.
Why did I go
he's,
with point-
he's
point
below
two?
average.
That's
Are we
weird.
talking about hot takes right now?
Hot
gentlemen?
takes?
Hot takes?
Hot takes? What
Because
a tradition.
that's one of our categories, folks.
Ben,
It's hot take.
Ben, you have the most egregious hot take on the
I do?
podcast. Your score is the widest, the furthest out from ours.
I bet I can guess what it is.
It is the only one that is one of few that is over 2 points higher than what
Ben,
we gave him.
And that
Ben, you've
is-
waited a
that
long
is-
time for this moment.
Oh, yeah.
The Punisher.
I will defend it until I die, folks. You'd think, because we're also going to have a portion of this podcast where we talk about scores that we look back on and we're like, oh, maybe I want to adjust that a little bit. A score we gave it and it's like, ooh, that might be too high. Maybe it's too low. I am firm. Punisher is an 8, without a doubt. What's the internet ranking? Because that's how it is, right?
Yeah.
It's the internet's ranking, all of them averaged, and then the hottest, farthest take away from that for each of us.
The internet gave it a 5.4.
And I gave it an 8,
You gave it an 8.
which is like
What?
3.6
Yeah.
higher.
Look at you,
Than
Matt,
that.
Ben.
Man,
Good
you're so
job.
smart.
I don't even know if that's right. I legit.
I didn't listen.
I threw out a number.
My hottest take, which is not going to be the one that I actually share, is Ghost Rider. I apparently rated 3.6 higher than the internet score.
The first Ghost Rider.
The first Ghost Rider, I gave 3.6. The internet gave it a 6.1.
And your Howard the Duck has to be
a
up there
4.1.
too. Right.
My Howard the Duck take wasn't as out there as the internet's was.
So so for me it was Punisher, but who is it for you? These are just based on numbers, guys.
Yeah.
This isn't.
Howard the Duck's score for me was I gave it 2.8 points higher than the internet's score, which
Okay.
was a 3.6.
So what's your most egregious one?
Well, I mean, like those are my most egregious, but I would say that the one that I would defend from the internet for being like far out is is something I haven't thought of yet.
You don't even have something in mind?
No, I don't.
Go to
Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3 is something that the internet likes to dog on, right? And there's a small group of people that really like the Raimi trilogy. For some reason, the third one is always, it's just dog water. It's trash. It's whatever. But I feel that there are so many redeeming qualities. It wraps up the story. It introduces new layers to relations that we hadn't thought of yet. There's the whole Goblin Jr. part, which I actually liked. Sure, there's Eddie Brock parts that are, kind of, but overall, I think that for what he had to do with Venom,
Yeah.
it could have been way worse.
Yeah.
And we have seen way worse. It was way worse around there at the time.
Looking at you,
We have had way worse. I mean, I like the Venom movies too.
YouTuber Ben from Canada has a great video defending Spider-Man 3. I'll put you on that right
Yes.
after Micah.
So like that's just, in my opinion, that's a fall guy. You know, if there's 3 of them, there's one that's the worst, and it's. I think it is. Spider-Man 3 is worse. I think 1 and 2 are better. I think that's not even a hot take.
Yeah, we
But
even
I
rated
agree.
it. We even rated it way worse than the third one. It placed way lower.
Yeah.
The third one was in 26th place, still fresh, but Spider-Man is 20th place at a 7.9. It's 0.4 points different. So really not that different, but like still, it's enough to kick it out of a lot of people's top 10s, top 20s even.
Yeah.
What's Ethan's hottest take?
So I don't know what the list says. I know I disagreed with you guys a lot on The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and X-Men Origins Wolverine. I know were my big two, but I think we looked at hottest take, and that was hot take from a positive way. But collectively, we all had a hot take from the internet scores in a very negative way, and that's X-Men First Class.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
we all collectively. What did we give X-Men First Class?
5.5.
We
gave
all
it 5.5,
we
yeah.
all gave it. And people really adore that movie. You ask the average Marvel goer,
Dude.
they love X-Men First Class. And when we rewatched that movie, it was hard to watch. It was cringy. It wasn't enjoyable. The female scenes were weirdly like sexualized in any kind of way they could have done it. The dialogue wasn't good.
Emma
and
Frost.
yeah, it wasn't fun in any way. And we watched it together, which a movie is that bad if us three watched it together and we couldn't have fun with it. So I don't know why the internet loved this at the time. I don't know why people still love
Even
this
now,
movie.
right?
It's really interesting.
The
I
internet
don't know.
gave it a 7.7 out of 10.
Yeah, I don't know what the appeal is with X-Men First Class.
Even
but
Hollywood Reporter almost gave it into their top half.
Their whole group, the First Class of X-Men, there's maybe one or two that are even interesting. The rest are cringe. They're throwaway. Like
They kill off a bunch of
literally
them.
some of them are. And the villain, I mean, who Kevin Bacon, I believe, is the villain in that one. Terrible.
that is the movie where whatever his face is, the absorbing guy.
Mhm.
What's his name? It's
It's
absorbing
like
man.
Darwin.
Darwin.
Yeah, it is
yeah.
Darwin.
He can adapt to anything, right? And he just blows
He's
up.
the first
Yeah.
one
First
to
scene he's in.
die.
He is so overpowered in the comics that I've heard.
I had to kill him off.
One of the big critiques is like in the comics, he will adapt so much that he will develop teleportation to get out of a situation before he will implode himself. Like that is canon. He can do that.
Wow.
Well, not in this movie.
Not in this
Not in
one.
that movie.
Yeah.
And Kevin Bacon is just so forgettable
So
as that villain.
As the Sizzler.
and Eric, they're good. I think the best performance is without a doubt
As
Magneto.
always.
Yeah, I mean he's great, but
The
like
whole series after Wolverine's spotlight is Charles
and
and
that like what is the X-Men franchise without Wolverine? The
Right.
ones without him do
And
not
that,
score very well on our list.
Havoc
Oh.
going through there. Was there a guy named Sonic Boom? There wasn't, but I feel like there should be one named Sonic Boom in that
Wha-
movie.
What is the internet score for X-Men First Class?
7.7.
And we all gave it a 5.5.
Yes.
So that's a wide range. I mean, that's a
We were united
Hot
on that
take.
one at a 5.5.
We didn't even like
No.
remotely like that one.
That
No.
one, and it goes without saying, our very bottom of the list, Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance at a 1 was 2.4 points lower than the internet score, which
if
there were
you've ever
very
watched it,
few redeeming qualities in that movie.
if any.
It was
honestly.
painful.
There was a good
Nick
theme
Cage-
song.
You can laugh at some parts of that.
Nick Cage
because it's
urinates
bad.
fire.
If
in
you're
a
not-
dream
Uh-huh.
sequence.
If you're not purposely having a good time, like going into this expecting to make fun of this movie,
Yeah.
you probably won't have a good time. And you can definitely watch movies like that and have a good time. I guess we just weren't in the mood for.
Mhm.
We just needed a penance stare into our
Ooh, nice.
souls.
Yes. Next category we have is a little negative. Is most ambitious. Most ambitious film.
The participation award.
The participation
I
award.
don't know. That's what I call it.
The most ambitious.
Yeah, like it tries really hard.
It tries really hard. Yes. It doesn't have to be a good movie.
Took the biggest
For
swing,
sure.
we'd say.
Yeah.
All right, the punish. Oh, sorry. Then you're first, right?
So no, on this one, Micah, you are up.
Oh shoot.
If you don't have one, I will go.
Yeah,
though,
you go
because
first.
I do.
I'm letting you
one.
have the floor.
Thank you, sir. I'm gonna go with a more generic pick, and I'm gonna go with the Avengers.
I can go next.
Just the idea of the Avengers at that time. Even now, we forget. We
So
really do
your
forget.
pick is a concept?
No,
Or
it's
it
the
is the
film.
first
It's the
Avengers
film.
film.
It's the film for sure. But it's the idea goes into it, as in no one in their right mind at that time, in that time period, was thinking about making 4 separate franchises combine into one in a huge, massive movie. It was super ambitious, and by all accounts, it should have failed. Yet Joss Whedon and company, along with the incredible performances from everyone involved, you have one of the best comic book movie films on our list. Super ambitious. I would even go so far as to say it's more ambitious than Infinity War as far as scale goes and Endgame, because this was the first of its kind. You can make an Iron Man movie, you can make a Thor movie. Those ones are a risk. But this one, man, this was a huge risk going into it. Doesn't seem like it. It really does not seem like it now, for sure. But back in the day, this was like a movie with 4, 5, 6 main characters. How are they going to have enough screen time? How is it going to be satisfying? And yet, in every way, it pulls it off. The first Avengers movie is fantastic, and it gets my most ambitious project.
For mine, I got to say, for similar reasons, because X-Men 2000 did a lot of those things first, way back then. And sure, they don't give tons of character development to each character, but they don't really do that in the Avengers either. They're kind of just all doing little baby steps, and then they're just slightly better than they were at the beginning. X-Men 2000 is a team-up movie, but focused on Logan. And really, who cares about anything else but just Logan? So I think that for what they were doing, this is one of the most ambitious for the time. No movie had a budget that large before. No movie had this much ambition going into it. I mean, no one would have expected that it made how much money? Like tons of money? Like billions and millions of dollars? I don't know.
It made millions of dollars.
It made a lot of money, I think. I can't find the numbers.
I think I remember that first X-Men movie being on the lower
end. It made
$139
$139 million, which is almost 4 times its budget of $75 million. So like $75 million for a comic book movie, unheard of back then. And going into the sequels, I mean, Last Stand had $210 million budget. Huge. First Class, or not First Class, whatever, X2 had a budget of 110. So it was just keep growing and growing. This was the proof of concept that you can franchise a comic book movie and it can become its own thing. It can become a series, because Blade, I mean, it did all right, but it was rated R. You had to have something that was kid friendly, that could, more kid friendly, that could appeal to a wider audience and can make boatloads of cash in a summer blockbuster. And that's what X-Men was. We wouldn't have had, we may not have even had the Spider-Man movies if not for what X-Men did to solidify the groundwork for comic book movies. We owe a lot to X-Men.
I like it. Okay. Ethan?
Very ambitious.
You guys took more of a positive swing on the ambitious. I'm going to go a little more, not fully negative.
You can't pick Daredevil again.
No, I'm not picking Daredevil again.
You can't pick Elektra either.
I'm not picking Elektra. No, a movie that I think took a ton of swings and really wanted to pivot their whole franchise in a new direction.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Do you?
Yeah.
A movie that really was kind of supposed to start a whole new subgenre of these films. So after the middling success and failure of X-Men: The Last Stand.
Oh, okay.
Fox had a great idea with X-Men Wolverine. X-Men Origins Wolverine.
They really did.
And
To be specific, X-Men Origins
X-Men,
Wolverine.
yep,
not X-Men, not the Wolverine.
No, not the Wolverine.
Not Logan.
Right.
X-Men Origins Wolverine. This was supposed to start a whole subgenre of X Origins films. And they put a lot on this movie's shoulder. And it whiffed so hard that they had to pivot the whole They went, you know what? This whiffed bad. Let's jump back many years in the timeline and just reboot the whole series with X-Men First Class. I think this movie, you guys liked it way more than I did. I hate this movie. I really don't like this movie. I think it takes a lot of swings with the character of Logan. It does a lot of things with mutants in general. There's the Blob in there, Gambit's in there. There's so much thrown into this movie, and then a lot of forgettable side characters, and then you have the Deadpool of it all. The way that they whiff on Wade Wilson in the finale of that movie. I think the CGI is just awful. I know you guys saw some redeeming elements, but to me, this is a very ambitious movie. There's a lot that they wanted this movie to do that it didn't. And that's reflected in the release schedule.
Yep. That reminds me of another failed, ambitious Marvel project that just didn't pan out, was Marvel Knights. That was another big one.
Yeah.
It was the Punisher movie and Ghost Rider. believe just the first one were the only ones under the Marvel Knights branding.
Like,
and then
we're
they
gonna
went
start this whole
nowhere.
subject.
I think it was actually Punisher Warzone.
It was Warzone.
It was
yeah.
Warzone and Ghost Rider were the only two that ever had the Marvel Knights logo. It was supposed to be this huge, like underground, more gritty Marvel era, but
This is your Marvel for
this ain't your mom's Marvel.
This is your dad's Marvel.
This is your
Dad
dad's
movies,
Marvel.
bro.
Your uncle's Marvel.
Your uncle's
Your cool
I like
uncle
that.
who drinks Monster and plays COD.
Yeah, right. Well, gentlemen, I say we move on to the next category,
I
which
say.
is funniest Marvel film. You laughed the most watching
Ouch.
this Marvel movie.
Ouch.
Now we can start with me.
Please.
Whether for any way, like whether you laughed genuinely, whether you laughed at the movie, it's all on the table for this one. I'm going to go with genuinely this time. I'm going to go with Into the Spider-Verse.
Okay.
I think from a hilarity standpoint, even now, 6 years later, that movie still is hilarious. Jake Johnson specifically as Spider-Man. There's many Spider-Man movies in that, but he is great. Miles is great. The humor still works now, and I like
Really good blend.
I like Into the
the way they blend it
Spider-Verse.
is really well.
Ethan.
Okay. So I'm not going as serious as you. I'm going hilarity in an awful way. To me, there's one thing that I've seen on this marathon that has made me laugh more than anything else that we've seen. I'm going to set the stage for you guys. It's a dark alleyway. You have a group of hoodlum teenagers talking about parkour, and they begin to leap from one building to another. And in the middle of that leap, they are shot by a rocket launcher and blown to bits. I'm taking Punisher Warzone for,
Let's go.
ironically, the funniest film that we have seen on this list, because I think R.I.P. Ray Stevenson, but I think the way he plays the Punisher is really just out there and goofy.
I liked it.
And the over-the-top violence really makes me laugh. There's a scene where the Punisher lightly, like, normally punches a dude in the face, but his fist collapses the guy's skull and goes into the wall through the door frame. What are we doing here? That movie made me laugh. Specifically, that rocket launcher scene kills me every time I watch it.
I love that movie, actually. That was a lot of fun.
What did you give Punisher Warzone?
I gave Punisher Warzone a 6.5.
Oh, are you serious?
Yes.
That's got to be his hottest take.
That's got to be a hot take.
It was one of my hottest. My hottest take, according to anything, was my Ghost Rider score, because I rated it 3 points higher than anything else. So,
wow, dang.
Which I did have a lot of fun with Ghost Rider. I don't know if I would say it was the funniest movie, but I did have a lot of fun with it. I'm going to go more recent with this one and say Guardians 2.
Nice, good pick.
I feel like Guardians 2 was one of the movies that balanced out humor and story. One of the best. Daredevil is all I mean, not Daredevil. Deadpool is too many, crude jokes, too many laughs, trying to go the whole time. And yeah, it's great. But rewatchability, funniest movie, I would say Guardians 2 is one of the ones that's guaranteed you're going to be able to watch it a bunch of times, and it's hilarious every time.
Yep.
Yeah, simple as that. I mean, James Gunn nailed all of the characters. That he let them, he introduced them in the first one, and then they were able to run for the second one, and it's awesome.
Yes, it is. The next category for our Marvel Multiverse Awards. Holy catfish! Yeah, we're almost there.
All right, we're almost done, guys.
This is the most emotional film that you watched. I mean, it might be the same for all of us, but who do we start with? Ethan on that one?
Yeah, I'll go with you had just mentioned it, Ben. You said the emotions and the humor side got you going. I'm going to take Spider-Verse. I think the way that they blend all the emotions in Spider-Verse is really, really well done. And that's with childhood wonder. That's entertainment. That's, your jokes. And then that's also your character emotion, I think.
Yeah.
They master that. There are some great scenes between Miles and his dad. Great scenes of just superhero isms, like the watch out dangerous scene always gets me to, regardless of what emotion I'm feeling, this movie gets me to feel all the emotions. And I love the ride that this movie is every time.
Yep. Micah?
Hands down, gotta go Logan.
Mhm.
Logan all the way. This is the first movie where you feel the weight of a character's age and struggles and the adamantium just weighing down on him as he just kicks and crawls and bites and claws his way to the finish line, which is his resting place on the rock. And it's a heavy movie. It's full of, I'm reminded of the scene with Charles laying in bed, and he's talking to Logan, and he's just pouring out everything. And then the tragedy of it not even being Logan.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Dude, it does hit,
and
man.
the score playing at this.
Yep.
That's why, spoiler alert, that's why it's one of the greatest movies on our podcast. We didn't make the movie, but you know what I mean.
No, we did. No,
We
it's
made
one
it.
of our best
Yeah.
movies.
Good job.
James
Micah.
Mangold,
awesome job editing.
monologues.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, knocks it out of the park every time.
I won't spend too much time on mine, but it's Endgame
Yeah.
for obvious reasons.
Watch our episode.
Yeah.
2.5 hours of us talking about the emotion of Endgame. Go listen to that.
Yeah. If you experienced it, you knew all of it that went into it.
Yeah, good pick.
We'll go with Endgame.
Lame pick.
So this one's going to be this one's a fun one. How did this get greenlit? This is the how did this get greenlit?
I get to go first,
award.
right?
No, can I go first?
No, I get to go first, right?
Yeah, I think it's Micah.
How
gets
in
to
the
go.
world did Elektra get greenlit?
I know. I
How
think we
in
all
the
wanted
world
Elektra.
did Elektra make it past the pitching stage?
Yeah.
Like the idea, all right, so Ben Affleck cancels on us. Let's still make this Daredevil sequel because we gotta make one. All right, what do? Let's get Elektra
Jennifer Garner
nacho
was-
cheese.
people liked her. Wait, but we killed her in the last movie.
Yeah, they killed her.
we
There
don't-
was
we don't worry about
absolutely
that.
No
wreck on that.
explanation in Elektra. I was waiting for it, and there was nothing. They just
Continued
it's
like it never
such a
happened.
mind-blowing thing that comic book movies did not care about any canon. They were just like, just make it. Who cares? Nobody's gonna care.
There's a scene of her in like an ambulance, maybe.
Sure.
I
And
don't even remember.
and the
dude.
craziest part about everything with Elektra is that I know people who like this movie. I
What?
personally
Do
know
you?
people who I went to a resale shop with my aunt and her friend and and it was like a whole group of us, and I saw Elektra, a DVD copy in just bargain bin, and I picked it up. I was like, hey guys, look. This movie was trash. We just reviewed it for our podcast, and they're like, "I like that movie. That one was really good. I'm gonna buy it." And then they bought it.
Bro.
They bought that disc of Elektra. They spent money. I spent money on Elektra too, but that was for a reason.
That's for research
It's a
purposes.
collection.
There was-
All right.
for completion.
Wasn't for
Right?
enjoyment.
Come on.
Exactly. And it just astounds me that it made almost no money. It completely tanked any credibility that Daredevil had for such a long time. It just,
Yeah.
the next female-led movie to tank will be the Marvels. Like no movie has tanked as bad as Elektra.
Yeah.
But at least I can see how the Marvels was greenlit. I
Right.
understand
Like,
why
there's
that
a,
was
a
greenlit.
vision behind that, and okay, like obviously like Fantastic Four, like
Yes.
even a Daredevil. Yeah, that movie wasn't good, but that character is fantastic. You know why that got greenlit.
Yeah.
I will say this though, for my pick, here is one that I'm baffled by it. After the middling reviews and success, not even of the first film, it somehow gets greenlit for Spirit of Vengeance. How does Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, how was a sequel greenlit for this film 6 years later? Can you guys answer that question?
Probably Nick Cage.
How
Probably
because
Nick
they
Cage.
called him and they said, "Hey, would you do a sequel?" And he was like,
reference,
They said, "How much?"
Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance comes
He
out
puts on his sunglasses. And he goes, yeah.
after the first Avenger and before the Avengers. So the first Captain America movie, Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, and then the Avengers. It's not like
Imagine
this movie.
Valentine's Day just came around. It's the next weekend, and you go, let's go to Spirit of
He
Vengeance.
did call this a love movie, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
"Oh,
And we did love it.
just terrible." That's my pick, Ghost Rider.
Ouch.
Ethan,
I'm going to go with one that, regardless of what you think of the final product of the film, the fact that it got greenlit is really baffling to me. Before any Marvel movie had ever been put to the big screen, Marvel collabed with Lucas.
George Lucas, man.
Are you gonna talk praises about Howard the Duck?
What?
This is
How did this get
how did this
greenlit?
get greenlit?
Oh,
Micah?
okay.
What do you mean? What did you think we were our best film or
No,
something?
yeah, I thought you were giving your Oscar Best Picture.
No.
It's an easy mistake
How
to
did,
make.
how did Howard the Duck get greenlit? I'm really confused about it.
Yep.
It's not like this was one of the. He isn't even now one of the Keystone Marvel characters, and they went, okay, let's make this movie randomly right after Star Wars. Like, I get Lucas wanting to bring a Star Wars character to life, a Marvel character to life, but this Howard the Duck, and then the script, whatever Micah thinks of this movie's not good.
Yeah.
Won some Razzies, I see.
It is weird.
Yeah, it won worst picture of the decade.
Howard the Duck.
I didn't even put Razzies on our like watch list thing.
We're
at
not going to
all.
hold that against you, Micah. You did enough, I would say. In a good way, in the
Ouch.
best possible way. Next category we have, and this is
Oh, that's what it was. Howard the Duck bombed, and that's why Steve Jobs bought Pixar, and that's why Pixar's around.
that is the
That's what
domino
it
effect.
was.
So credit to Howard the Duck for that,
Mm,
Yep.
but nothing else.
wow.
Unless you're Micah. He already defended it.
You're welcome.
That's true.
Go ahead, Ben.
Looking out for
Speaking
the little
of
guy.
defended films, we are going to go into what we believe to be the most underrated movie on this list. And
Reflected by our score?
reflected
or-
by your own score. Yes. So it can be a draft, but I don't think any
We
of
kind of
us are
touched on
going
this a little bit.
I don't think any of us are going to yet. But I didn't talk in depth about my pick.
Ben,
Okay.
I know
Alright.
Ben wants to talk about his.
I want to talk about Punisher. All right.
Go ahead. Talk about Punisher
right
right
now.
now.
It's all right.
Just before we get we remove it because no one else is going to think about it. I really do think that
No
this
one else
movie
will think about it.
is very underrated. Like very underrated. I think it from the performances, which I love, to the musical score, which is even better. This movie goes. I mean, it's. I think super emotional. It's hard to talk about because it was such a polarizing podcast. It really was. Go
Just
back
for
and listen
you.
to it.
I had fun.
But it is so good. I loved it. I loved almost every moment of this film. Yeah, where there's some cheesy aspects, but the ending leaves you on such a high note, on a crescendo of the score. For me, I just want to see this continued. I think Thomas Jane is fantastic. He plays the emotional side of the Punisher better than anyone I've ever seen. And he's fantastic. Punisher is my pick for most underrated Marvel film.
Oh, I thought you meant like overrated. Sorry, I mixed it up in my head.
Underrated. It's easy to get those two mixed up too.
Gotcha.
Ethan, underrated.
All right, I'm throwing a few movies out for this. This is a little different than our most surprising, but underrated as far as from a directing standpoint. And I know we three love this movie, but the internet doesn't love this movie as much as we do. I'm going to go Guardians 2. I think
Okay.
Guardians 2 is such a great pick for this.
Yes.
Anytime I talk to someone, they're always like, yeah, Guardians 2 fails in every sort of way compared to the first one. And I thought that too, but in this rewatch, Guardians 2 is a great movie, and I think they blend so much more into it than that first one. Yeah, there's the few elements that aren't as good as the first, but so many more elements that surpass the first. And it's really interesting how many people dog on Guardians 2 when I think it is a great emotional journey with these characters. And really, I love the father-son dynamic between not Russell Crowe, Wyatt
That's
Russell.
different.
Riot. What is his name?
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell. Yeah. Kurt Russell and Chris Pratt have a really great dynamic in that movie. And yeah, Ben mentioned the needle drop father son. That one always gets me.
Hits. Yeah.
But yeah, the internet doesn't like this one. This isn't really like the hottest take or the most underrated, but I think people don't talk about it enough. I think it's a really good movie.
Yes, good pick. Good pick.
Since we're not talking about either of these movies enough, I just want to do a shout out to both of the bottom of the barrel MCU movies that people always just automatically put on the bottom is The Incredible Hulk and Thor: The Dark World,
Which we also put at
put at the bottom, but
our MCU list, yeah.
But well, I mean, Captain Marvel was right underneath The Incredible Hulk, but still, I just want to say that they're not off. They're not the worst in the world.
Something has to be at the bottom.
Yeah,
But when it comes to Marvel movies, there's none of them.
Thor:
that
The
are
Dark
really,
World, especially.
Yeah.
There are what? There's a bunch of places in between Thor: The Dark World. We rated that 39th place.
Yeah.
It's not that bad of a movie. I think that there are a lot of redeeming qualities to it. Is it the greatest? No. Is it anything great by now standards? No. But did it completely destroy what Thor could have been based on Kenneth Branagh's amazing directorial not debut, but MCU debut? Yes, it did, unfortunately. And that was a big no.
I will say this: I miss that Thor versus the one we
I
have right
do
now.
miss
I'd
that
rather
Thor.
have that one.
We don't get Shakespearean Thor at all after this, and it's a shame, but that's what gives it points.
He's
is
Shakespearean
that it's so
Ultron.
a little bit, but
Still there.
He just kind of says things, but it's not like his character isn't
I get you.
Shakespearean
Yeah.
Thor. So that's why I gave it some more points, because it was still back when Marvel was more original than it is now.
There is that innocent time of those Marvel movies where it was like, oh man, that was a fun time to be watching them because it was so innocent.
Mm-hmm.
That like the first Thor, especially, I think, very underrated pick as well. 2 more categories left, gentlemen.
Okay.
We're gonna do music, best musical score or soundtrack of this Marvel film. Lots to choose from here, and we're gonna start with Ethan.
Okay. All right. I was hoping I'd get this. I'm not as big into scores as you guys are, but one score that I was thinking about on my drive over here, and I'm so glad. I mean, y'all were talking about it too earlier. One that never got released officially. I'm going to take the Spider-Man 3 score.
Okay.
I really like this score.
Great
the
pick.
Sandman theme, the Raimi theme,
Black suit theme.
Yeah, like
Danny Elfman kicking it.
Danny Elfman killing it. Like Danny Elfman let us down with Ang Lee's Hulk, but Spider-Man 3. Actually, no, he's not in this. He didn't do Spider-Man 3, did he?
He did not. No,
He
Yeah.
wrote themes,
but a lot of his themes are carried over.
and that's why
And they're
Spider-Man
added
3
on.
was never. The soundtrack was never released because Danny Elfman never gave the privileges for it to be distributed.
But no, I'm going to take Spider-Man 3. I know you guys are more scory than me, but
dude,
I like the Spider-Man 3
That's a
score
great
ton.
pick, man. To highlight Danny Elfman's work, he got to. Micah?
I think I got to go Infinity War on this one. I mean, you already picked. Oh, I guess it wasn't Danny Elfman. I was going to say you picked Danny Elfman, but can I switch? Can I do Spider-Man 2?
You absolutely you can.
It's a different
You're not locked
composer.
in.
It's different everything. I'm doing
Yeah.
Spider-Man 1. We'll say Spider-Man 1. Locking in
But then
Spider-Man
you
1.
lose the Doc Ock theme.
I do lose the Doc Ock theme. All right,
Which
Spider-Man
theme
2.
is better, Doc Ock or Green Goblin? Because that's really what it comes down to.
Don't you get some of the
Oh.
Goblin theme in Spider-Man 2?
You do.
There's some mere stuff with
Sure.
Spider-Man
Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2 has the
I'll
better
do
one.
Spider-Man 2 because it's got a little bit of everything
Yeah.
and it's really good. All right. Yeah. I mean, nostalgia goggles a little bit, but still, it's a score that knocks it out of the park.
that opening Spider-Man theme is killer.
With the
One of the best.
watercolor going, it's, the watercolor intro summarizing all of Spider-Man 1. It sets the stage for the greatness that you're about to watch.
Yeah.
It's just such a flowing score that fills you up.
I go back and forth. There's two that I would go with.
Dark Phoenix
on here.
Hans Zimmer.
No, I wouldn't have.
But he
one
wrote
of
so
them-
much music.
No, he did. He wrote more than almost any of his other films. I go back and forth between Avengers Endgame and The Amazing Spider-Man 2, without a doubt.
Oh, come on.
Come on.
Come
TASM
on.
2
Bro, go
at the same level as
Endgame,
Endgame?
man.
Without a doubt.
No.
You
On
guys
the
are
same level.
you guys aren't realizing how good The Amazing Spider-Man 2 score
I am
is.
realizing how good
You're not.
It's not good.
You're not. Because
This is a time for love, okay, Ben?
Listen, man.
State your,
All right.
state your argument.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2, his Spider-Man theme, in my opinion, as good as Danny Elfman's theme is without a doubt the best one. And it's not even close. His theme is amazing. The love theme. I have listened to the love theme between Gwen and Peter so many times. And the way that Hans Zimmer, his different variations of that throughout the
that's Hans Zimmer
soundtrack
too?
is so good. Yes, Hans Zimmer. James Horner did the first one, who's also fantastic, but Hans Zimmer stepped in because James Horner sadly passed away. And Hans Zimmer came in, stepped in, and he absolutely filled the shoes. There's also his Green Goblin theme. Not a great character, but his music, man, it's so good. The Goblin theme is so good.
So you're locked in on.
And I don't see
you're
that's the
locked
problem
in.
because
You
I
already
can't.
talked about it a ton.
There's more themes in Spider-Man, but I think in Endgame edges it out just a little bit because there is a moment in Endgame where Tony gives his monologue to his helmet. And as he stops talking, there is this almost like silent, and it's just this one note that carries you as he gets the coat. Nebula gives him his coat. The Tony Stark death theme in that. Also, you have the iconic Avengers theme. I gotta go with Endgame on this one. Endgame has a better score. But
Portals, you've got Porch in there too.
Porch does make an appearance in the Endgame soundtrack.
So
That's true.
You've got everything.
There's a lot of good. I gotta go with Endgame on this, but Amazing Spider-Man 2, for however bad that movie is, the score is really good, but I gotta go with Endgame. Endgame is the best one.
So
To end off,
You did a little Micah cheat there. You did a 2-for-1
I'll let
special.
him. I'll let
Yeah.
him because he's the score guy.
I had to highlight it. I had to highlight it. But to end it off, to our last category, because we know what our best movies are, we know what our worst movies are. To end it off, we're gonna do best performance. The best performance across 57 films. What's it gonna be? We saw a lot of them, gentlemen, and this starts with Micah.
Bringing it back to Logan.
Hugh Jackman's Wolverine.
Hugh Jackman, Wolverine. Hugh Jackman. Across. Is this best performance of an actor across like?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have. It doesn't have to be
Hugh Jackman,
film-specific.
Wolverine, the most consistent performance across all the movies that he's been in. I would say he is the shining example of what a comic book character could be. I loved how you see his comic bookiness in the early X-Men movies, and then he's developed into this grisly, screaming Wolverine.
Yeah. The beast mode unleashed. Yeah.
Beast mode unleashed.
It's gonna be cool to see him this year
Yeah, I mean,
back in the saddle.
Hugh Jackman just kills it.
Yeah.
Every time. I have yet to see a movie. I mean, I haven't seen too many movies with Hugh Jackman in it, but
Hey, you've seen at least like
he is
8
a
or 9.
beast to behold.
Yes, he is, and it's a great pick. He's
Yes,
one of the best.
A
On
lot
this
of dedication to those scenes. Was he the one that did the cold showers every day?
Marathon. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So get into the mood of always being angry.
That's what you do, isn't it? You cold shower, Micah?
Cold? No, I'm too much of a baby for that.
It's a horrible way to start your day. You just get up and you don't want to be up anyway, and then you hop in a freezing cold shower.
There's a reason why he did that, to get in an angry mood.
Yeah. But I know I know some people who just do that unironically. That sounds awful. I would never get out of bed.
I hear it is very good for you though.
Yeah, I don't care.
It's
I
good
know,
for your
I'm with you.
pores,
I
it's
never
good
said
for
I
your-
heard
Good for me.
It's
No
good for
way.
your hair. It's good for your mind.
I'm going to go with a man who originally did not want to be a part of his films at all. He was very averse to it. Thank goodness he signed on, because Chris Evans plays a fantastic Captain America across
I thought you were
all
going
of
to
his
say a
films.
bad character.
No, he's
Really?
fantastic, man.
Really?
To me, it
It's
goes.
not Thomas Jane's Punisher?
No, surprisingly enough, guys.
Wow.
And I think he might not be my favorite pick, but I gotta highlight him because I know who Ethan's gonna highlight, and I gotta go with Chris Evans because across his, I think he has the most consistent films. The Avengers films, all three of his. I love all three of his movies, and he just gives this character. You can't help but not root for Chris Evans. He was the perfect man to play Captain America, and I don't think we're ever gonna see a portrayal any better than him. To be honest with you, there's a rumor that Deadpool is gonna be getting all the prime Avengers, all the prime versions of each character in Deadpool 3, and you can't get much better than prime Captain America being Chris Evans. Even though he probably won't be in the movie, but like Chris Evans, without a doubt, he is the character I attach myself most to during the Marvel Cinematic Universe and this marathon in general.
So you're not including Chris Evans, Johnny Storm?
No, I am not.
Okay.
You can loop that
It's
in
his
there.
portrayal.
Just making sure.
Allow it.
I would have allowed it. Yeah,
I will not
I would
allow
have been
that.
fine.
No, not for myself.
Okay. All right.
He's an okay Johnny Storm.
Just leaving it up for Ethan to give us a Johnny Storm.
He's gonna take Chris Evans as Johnny Storm.
Miles Teller.
All podcast, I've been sitting here as y'all dogged on my favorite performance, Jennifer Garner.
Oh no way!
Electra. I want to give a shout out to Tom Hiddleston's Loki right here. He's not my pick, but I think he deserves to be mentioned.
Yeah.
What are you, Micah?
I'm Micah. Ben got to cheat. Micah gets so many cheats. I'll cheat Tom Hiddleston.
It's all
Shout
about
you
how
out.
you word
Yep.
it. You start
It's just
with the,
I gotta
the
say
runner-up.
I gotta say something because it's just too easy to take
It's
Artie.
too easy.
It's too easy to take.
Would he be here if it wasn't for Loki?
I don't think Tom
Who?
Hiddleston would
Artie
be here.
Hiddleston.
Tom Hiddleston wouldn't
Would you
be
have
here
said
at all.
honorable mention for Tom Hiddleston if it wasn't for Loki?
The show.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Because not a part of this marathon as of yet.
I thought
No,
you meant like
fair.
on this podcast, Tom Hiddleston would have been here.
If Tom Hiddleston gets, it's like that short I edited where he thought I
That's
looked
why
like
you
I
saw
was talking
special
to him.
guests on the title. Tom.
You just walked.
No,
Just kidding, Parker.
I'm gonna take RDJ as Iron Man.
Nope.
I think.
Boo.
I know, boo, right? It's,
No way, dude.
It's so not fun to pick him, but
You have to.
he's
It's
my
like
pick.
picking Infinity War and Endgame as your favorite
I
Marvel
know,
movies.
I know. It sucks. It sucks that it happens, but I love RDJ. From the beginning of his first Iron Man. I think about that first Iron Man movie a ton. I actually just moved it into my top 4 on Letterboxd.
It's
Not that
so
that says anything,
good.
but I
Ooh.
love that first Iron Man movie, and I think it's so special, and that is because RDJ is at the helm of it. Yeah, Jon Favreau gets his credit too, but RDJ was this focal point, this piece of the MCU that we followed, this character whose journey we went on through the first 3 Iron Mans, through the 4 Avengers films, through Captain America Civil War, through Spider-Man Homecoming, and through it all, I love him. And I think RDJ never mailed it in. And I love that now. It sucks that he had to leave the MCU, but now he's finally getting the credit he deserves as an actor with his performance in
Where he can
Oppenheimer.
actually stretch his wings and
Or he gets to fully be who he's. Yeah. So I love RDJ. And the whole MCU was hung on him. And since he left, and yeah, you can say Chris Evans in there too, but since those 2 left, what is the MCU? They're still trying to figure that out.
I would put RDJ ahead of Chris Evans for sure. I mean, without him, I mean, he said it himself, I think, on a Jimmy Fallon podcast. Without me, there's no MCU. I agree.
There's not.
I agree. Yeah. Great pick.
he built the cinematic universe in a cave.
Just like we
Or the
built
box of scraps.
the Marvel marathon at Multiverse Monologues.
We're not doing changes that we would want to make, or
Oh,
'cause
yeah, we can do that.
I did have one that
You know
I have
what?
been holding on
We
to.
can do that for our benefit. Yes, this is for us, man.
We get some
What-
bonus coverage,
what
folks.
would we?
Yes.
What
We were
would
mentally
change?
ready to be done.
I
but
have
we're
one
gonna keep going.
that has been weighing on me for a while. That I'm like, there's no way. Like, there's
And
no
it's
way.
Howard the Duck, guys.
No, it's not Howard the
No
Duck.
way that Howard the Duck is that good.
It's
It is per-
it's
no,
a
this is-
movie.
This is personal score.
This is
that-
personal score
yeah.
that I would change
Yeah.
if I could, but these scores are
They're
locked in.
locked in. We
These
can't.
are locked in.
Yep.
I would not have X-Men Apocalypse at an 8.7.
Wait, you have that at an 8.7?
That's a good one, man.
8.7.
Holy catfish.
I remember that I really enjoyed it, but
No
looking
way.
back, if
Dude.
I were to watch this again right now, I don't think I would
That
give
is
it an
a-
8.7.
Ooh, that is a horrible pick.
But it's one that I'm like, I really enjoyed it. But is it an 8.7? I don't think so. I don't think so. But yeah, that's the one that I would pick. As probably need to change that one.
Yeah, that's.
What about you guys?
Ethan, do you have yours? Because I'm still
I think
mulling it over.
early on we were still feeling out like where these movies wanted
Definitely.
to go and where we wanted to put them.
So Howard the Duck, you'd give like
So,
a 6?
No, but I am confident that I would give Blade higher than a 7. I think Blade would, for me, I think it would hit 8s.
Yeah,
I think I like it a lot more than that 7.
I agree.
And especially when I look at what, like even Blade 2, I like more than, what did I gave them both a 7?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you gave Blade 2 a 6.9.
Okay, so I gave it just lower. But I like both those movies better than a lot of the other movies that are also hovering around. Like, because I gave the first Thor a 7.5, and not to say that Blade's better than that,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I would give Blade higher. I would.
Yeah.
I think it deserves higher, and it is one of those. It's just uniquely its own thing. It's separated from any Marvel movie. It's just its own fun movie with all its own fun lore.
Yeah.
I like it. If I had one to change, I thought about this like a week after I gave it, and as we kept going, I was like, man, I like my ranking, but I don't. There's one movie that I'm like, I rated this too high, man, and that's The Winter Soldier.
Really?
I love The Winter Soldier. I love it, love it, love it, love it. But I think on that podcast, I was holding that it was my first MCU movie a little too high. I would give it a 9.5 if I could. Not
You
a
could
10
change
out of
it,
10.
yeah.
Not a 10 out of 10.
I agree. A lot of I set the record for lowest score.
Yeah,
Average
lowest score,
score,
but
but
still
with the
had the
most
most
tens.
10s.
I
Right.
have, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 10s
Yeah.
on the list. I would not give out that many 10s in retrospect, but I think it's because where I put my first few 10s. And yeah, I agree, Ben, where I put Winter Soldier, I had to, because I liked these movies better
Right,
than Winter
right.
Soldier. So
That's
I
what it
had to
was.
put those movies at a 10.
Mhm.
So yeah, go ahead, Ben.
It's
Sorry.
still good.
Yeah.
But I'd give it a 9.5.
Yeah.
I give it a 9.5. Just not a 10 out of 10. Like, I don't know. I held that in such high regard.
Yes.
But we cannot change our scores.
We can't.
It's just for our headcanon, something we want to get out there. It's just been weighing on us these past few years.
Oh,
In our
Burn
own
the bear.
personal rankings, we can do that, but not
Yes.
not as reflected in the grand list that we have.
This is set in stone.
And that's why it's cool. Like our emotions in the moment are what
Yeah.
played into this ranking. So we can always look back, go, okay, that was a little off, but I don't think it messes up our whole ranking too much.
No, and it probably wouldn't change where it is on the grand list if we, because I'm only moving it half a point. You know, would you guys change yours significantly
With that one,
Could be up to a
with
point.
yours and yours?
I would
and-
take it down from a 10 with that one.
Okay.
Totally. The ones I would lock in, keep at a 10 for me personally are the Avengers. Infinity War, I'd keep at a 10. I'd keep Endgame at a 10. Logan, I would keep at a 10. And Spider-Verse would probably stay at a 10.
Yeah.
So I guess I only work down from
only like
so
Civil War and Winter
Civil War,
Soldier.
the two Captain America movies
Yeah.
I'd take down a little.
Yeah, somehow
not a lot.
I didn't give out any 10s, but I still have the highest average. Anyway, Ben. Yes.
Well, it's because you gave the Apocalypse an 8.7.
Well, moving on from that.
Micah, you had a question?
Did we do best movie yet?
I mean, we all know what it is for us. I think we said it multiple
I
times.
think I
on
can
here.
guess. Micah, yours is Logan.
Yeah, mine's
Yeah.
Logan.
Ben's would
Your
be
best rated movie is
My
Logan?
best rated movie is Logan.
Right.
Micah.
Yep.
Mine's Endgame.
Yeah, yours would be Endgame.
Yep.
Mine.
And then Ethan's, I'm very
yeah.
intrigued.
Okay.
Well,
this
'cause
is
you had
why.
seven.
Based on scores. What?
He
Well,
gave 7
no, yeah,
10s.
but-
Well, I gave 7
You gave
tenths.
7/10s, right?
I think I wrestle with this a lot. I think The Avengers
Keeps you up at night.
is my all-time favorite Marvel movie.
The Avengers just
The Avengers.
The Avengers,
Okay.
the first one, I think it blends. Josh Whedon directs. I think he brings what he's really good at from TV into that movie.
Mm.
I love the way all the characters come together. yeah, you could have got a little more Hawkeye character work, but I think the Hulk is the best he's been in that movie.
Yep.
The gravitas they give like Bruce Banner, that scene between. There's just so many great scenes between so many great characters, specifically like the scene that's so pivotal is on the helicarrier when they're all arguing, where Tony is the only one to treat Bruce like a real human being other than being scared to death of him. I love that. And then contrast it with Captain America, them arguing about who's the real hero. I think that movie, it was the first MCU movie I saw in theaters. I saw it with my papa and my nanny. I hold it in high regard, and I think even on rewatches, it still is my favorite one. I love it.
I love it. Yep. It just is. It's so good.
Yeah, we always talk about Tony's arc being complete in Endgame, but he does make a big sacrifice within that movie too.
Mm-hmm.
So there is some growth for his character there.
It's a nice pan out as you go from this to this, and I like how they play the same music in the first Avengers when he makes a sacrifice in the first one as he does in Endgame. It's a nice little bit of continuity there. Speaking of continuity, this is where it ends for the Marvel Universe.
Oh,
For now.
For the Marvel movie marathon for now.
For at least 2 years.
Yes.
At least.
And yeah.
Gotta get some more Marvel backlog.
Oh, for sure. There is a lot to come. Like we were floating around the idea of MonsterVerse movies. Obviously, Star Wars we are locked in for. I am so excited to watch
Star Wars is next,
this
folks.
week. Yeah, Star Wars is. I'm so excited. It's going to be so much fun doing this, but with Star Wars.
Mhm.
This
was a warm up to get our
project.
Get our
bearings on what our scores are.
Yep.
Get a nice ranking of.
get a feel for how we like to watch and review these.
Yeah, this is nice. I'm glad we didn't just jump right into a short series like Star Wars, relatively speaking, compared to our 57 movies.
Anything we touch is gonna
because by the time we
be short.
Definitely 15 movies in, we were not hitting our stride as well as we are right now. In my opinion,
right? Like we were very much we were in the growing pains, and thankfully by the time we hit the MCU, I say when we hit Iron Man, we knew exactly what this podcast was and what we were doing.
Mhm.
But yeah, like we were filming some online, we were filming some in person. We had a singular mic for a lot of those early ones. We all huddled around one mic, and the audio is terrible on those.
Oh, we did weekly shows for a while
for Spider,
like Moon Knight and
Spider-Man 1. Micah brought a notebook summarizing the entire film. That podcast was long.
I wanted to just like promote.
I think this is
movie.
fun. Do you guys have like a most enjoyable memory or worst memory we had recording one of these?
Oh man, yes, worst. I will take a worst memory.
Ang Lee's Hulk.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. We watched that movie and then we got together, and it was maybe the hottest day of the year. And we went into our recording spot, which is Village Bible Church, and they let us use a room, second floor, up in the second,
closer to the sun.
Oh, without a doubt. And this room had the AC was broken.
Yeah.
In the building, and we sat there for an hour and a half in that room. And I remember looking at Ethan and him being like, dude, we got to end this thing. Like this is just, it's not even fun. And we mention it in there, but I think we do a good job of masking how hot it is, but that was terrible. Yeah. It was truly terrible.
Some of those early growing pains were tough. I remember the first Moon Knight episode was like right after the Spider-Man episode.
Not a part of our marathon.
Not a part of our marathon, but like I had tried the format with Spider-Man. It didn't work, but I was like, all right, well, maybe it'll work with Moon Knight. So I tried to go through the plot.
And that was the first episode ever recorded without Ben.
Yes.
So there was a little like, all right, who's the host?
You can't start at the top.
Yeah. Ben's very good. Ben perfected his intro and his voice. It's locked in.
I will say this. I appreciate it, gentlemen.
Yeah.
As far as where we were and where we are now, I would say we are at like, I wouldn't say you have ever perfect. No, for sure not. But I love coming together with you guys. You guys bring such an educated opinion on it. No, we all live our own lives. We all work jobs, and you can't. There is no one I can talk this in depth with, get this nerdy with in my life than on this pod. I mean, who goes and agrees to watch every single Marvel movie every week for the last 2 years? Who does that?
Well,
That
no,
was so crazy to think about.
none of us knew what we were getting into.
Yeah,
Oh,
2 years
without
ago,
a
we were
doubt.
like, oh yeah, we'll finish this up whenever, if
This
we ever
was,
do.
This was an idea, Ben had cooked up. He brought it to me and he's like, we're going to do this. We were running out of steam with our, news shows. We didn't really know what we wanted this podcast to be. We know we want to talk about nerd stuff, but how would we do that? And you brought this idea and I'm like, that's really cool. Let's do that. And then like the day before recording that, I talked to Micah. Micah was on our Batman podcast and he's like, heck, I'd watch Howard the Duck with you. We brought Micah in.
And I was like, you know what? I want to watch
later.
And then I'm like, I want to watch Blade. And then, I've seen X-Men. Well, I got to watch Blade too. I love Spider-Man.
And then
I've
there's
never
this.
seen Daredevil.
Me and Ben were
story
like,
goes on.
yeah, it would be fun to have a guest on
Oh,
for
yeah.
Howard the Duck. Here we are. All these movies later, Micah has solidified.
Yes.
This wouldn't be the show without you, Micah.
No, absolutely not.
I've solidified. Thank you, Ethan.
Two men can bring an educated opinion, but it takes three. It takes three to truly make it well-rounded.
Right. To at least make it fun to listen to.
Mm.
Me and Ben would probably, ran out of steam maybe. Who knows?
Thank you to our regulars. Thank you to our 590 subscribers right now.
590, almost
Guys,
a 600.
Thank you.
Pushed that
Thank you
600.
to all of
Yeah.
our followers on Instagram. If you're watching, I don't know how many translate to listeners,
Or who
but
makes it this far?
yeah, thank you guys. I'm sure our fan favorites, John Cross,
Yes.
Zach's in there.
Big shout out to you, John
Brandon
Cross.
Stoneberg.
Yep,
Yeah.
Brandon Stoneberg.
Yep.
We got Nick Widener. He's always a weekly listener.
Rebecca, if you made it this far, I know you're sleeping by now, but
And I know I'm forgetting someone else. I know I'm forgetting.
Does Sam listen?
More.
Leave a comment down
More.
below.
Yes. Oh, 100%. 100%. And
let
We're
us
starting-
know if you guys want to see stuff later. We were talking about monster movies like the Kaiju and
Yeah.
Kaiju and Godzilla Kong stuff.
But do you guys have a single Marvel movie podcast that you're proudest of? One that you
Ooh.
thought we just really hit it
man,
on
there
all
was one
cylinders?
where I was like,
yes,
that was a good episode.
Yes.
Do you have one right off the bat?
I do.
Which one?
And it's Thor. The first
Thor
Thor
was good.
I remember going in, and this is after Punisher. So I went into Punisher. I'm not kidding, guys. I was like, oh, you know what? This was great. I can't wait to talk about this because I didn't think you guys were going to dog on it as much. So after Punisher happened, I was like, okay, I cannot assume anything for what their opinion's going to be. So I went into Thor, and I was like, oh my gosh, I really like Thor, but I don't know how they're going to take it. And we all really liked Thor, and we had a great discussion about it.
Yeah.
I loved that Thor podcast. That's mine.
Yeah, I Thor really surprised me. I really liked our discussion on. I remember our Avengers discussion was really good.
Mm.
I think that was the first one we had since the room had been remodeled upstairs
At the church.
at the
Yes,
church.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and just the different format. I think facing each other really helps, but it doesn't work as well for a video
Video,
format.
yeah.
So,
Yes.
but yeah, it was great. I remember I had some really strong feelings on the Avengers. I remember because I didn't want to give it a 10 out of 10 because I knew there were flaws, and having flaws to say compared with your guys thinking it was the greatest movie ever, it really made a difference
fun,
in
yeah.
how fun the podcast was.
I think not knowing what to expect. I love that we're all like, we're in that same range. I think
Yeah.
we had a really good run. Mine is
Oh, and it was right after Spirit of Vengeance
Yeah.
too, so we needed a good one.
I
think
to me, The Amazing Spider-Man was one of
Ooh.
my all-time favorites that we did. Our humor specifically, not that we're funny guys or not funny, but I think our humor and the way we were able to talk about that first, because we all collectively didn't like it.
Right.
We all gave it around the same. What is that? A 6?
6.5.
Yeah,
6,
6.2.
Yeah. So we all thought basically the same thing of it. No one absolutely hated it. No one loved it. And I think that made for a really fun discussion because there was a lot to discuss. We got Riz Ifans in there playing the
dude.
lizard.
Yes.
The only thing upsetting is with the audio, it does cut out very briefly
Mm.
throughout the whole thing.
Does it?
Oh,
Yeah.
that sucks.
I think Micah's mic cuts in and out. Just not even big enough to
Like I
wreck
said,
it,
growing pains.
but just enough to where it keeps it from being perfect.
Did
but
we all have our own at that time, or were we
did.
still
Yeah.
we're still sharing?
Yeah. No, we were. Fun fact, you guys know what the first movie we recorded with individual mics were? I want you to see if you know
The
this.
first one,
The first one with individual mics.
was it Iron Man?
No.
No.
We were well into individual mics by then.
Oh.
Well, I mean, is this counting what we did online too, or is that even
Oh,
before
like
that?
Zoom?
So the first in-person podcast with individual mics. Which one was it?
Dude?
Oh, it was a Buns one. It was Electra.
It was Electra.
Yeah, I remember.
kidding me?
Yeah, I remember because we were like,
No
"Oh, we have
way.
such a Buns movie, but our audio quality is going to be peak."
Holy
Yeah,
cow.
Electra was the first individual mic podcast. That was.
Wow.
See, yeah, we'd hate to start Star Wars and get all the way through that
We get
marathon and have
12 movies in,
horrible
which is almost
audio.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we're growing pains, but
Yeah.
I think that's the charm of this marathon, and I don't think we'll ever find something that matches the.
No.
There'll be
What
a lot
this was.
fewer movies on our a lot
Oh, for sure.
fewer physical movies on our display here for those watching the YouTube video.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, I just don't have that many other movies.
Yeah.
Well,
You can bring some stuff, but
I know I definitely will be bringing a lot of
That'll
stuff
bring
for
the
Star
Millennium
Wars.
Falcon.
it has
Yeah,
been a
dude.
wild ride. Please
Yes.
bring your UCS Millennium Falcon. I will put it on the.
Yes. I want to say thank you to Micah for doing the whole list.
Hey, I
Spent
think
a
that's what-
lot of freaking time doing that. And I want to thank Ethan especially for all of the editing.
Yes,
on
thank you,
all
Ethan.
platforms, whether it be on Spotify for audio listeners or anywhere you get your podcasts, YouTube, which is fantastic, and then also Instagram and all our socials. You do a fantastic job.
Thank
at
you,
all of
Ben,
that.
for this whole idea.
Hey, Ben was editing through the whole beginning portion of this. I think Iron Man was when I took over editing. Maybe
I think it was later than that.
it was later than
Because
that.
I always remember me putting in the profile pictures on Spotify, and I think it stopped around there for sure.
I know I uploaded Iron Man, but you could be right. No, because you did. You know,
Oh,
it
you
might
might
have
be
been.
right there. You might be
It
right.
might have been the Amazing Spider-Man.
You know, and
I
that-
think that's when I took over.
That's where the editing starts to get really a lot better.
A little behind the
So
scenes.
that-
you guys
that-
can go back and check that out.
We might have to, but yeah,
Because I remember Iron Man 3, I had a lot of copyright issues because I went wild on that edit and everything was blocked and taken down on YouTube. So I had to edit and upload that one like 5-6 times. So
ouch.
Iron Man 3, I remember doing. So,
Okay. It's right around there. Definitely in phase 1, I think.
Thank you to all who have been
But yeah.
listening since back then,
Yes.
way back then, and
And-
to our new listeners too. Really appreciate everybody who's tuning in. It's great,
We're talking like it's the end of
making
the
our
podcast.
dreams
No,
come true. No,
the
this is
cool
a
thing
new
is-
chapter.
What? See, listen, Star Wars, I would say might even be bigger than Marvel. All right,
Yes.
as a franchise as it goes, this is bigger than Marvel. I know there's a lot of Star Wars fans. I know a lot of Star Wars fans. So this week, watch A New Hope.
I am
And
so
tune in.
excited.
All right. Oh, I can't
I
wait.
am watching the Project 4K77
Mike has
version,
got yeah.
which is the original theatrically released Star Wars: A New Hope. They scanned the film reels, made them brighter so that you can actually see them, and then put them out. And that's the one I'm going to be watching. I might watch that one, or I might watch. There's a 70 millimeter. So there's the 35 millimeter, which was the wide release, but then there were 70 millimeter releases as well,
Okay.
which will have a little bit higher quality. But everything was filmed on 35 except for this whole thing.
We'll definitely talk about that when
Yeah.
we talk Star Wars next week.
Yes, I'm very excited to bust those open because I have not watched them.
I know. Same here. I got all the 4Ks for the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy for Christmas time, so I'm gonna watch
cool.
those.
Yeah.
So I can't wait. But for now, this is the end of the Marvel Marathon. Tune in for Star Wars next week. This is Ben Rayside
This is Ethan.
And this is Micah, not for the final time.
signing off. We all hope you have an absolutely fantastic day.